Heartwarming Billionaire discovers twin girls with suitcases alone in the park. Their incredible journey begins. Thomas Carter, a billionaire with a heart forged in the fires of a working-class upbringing, found himself wandering through Maplewood Park one sunny afternoon. Laughter filled the air. Kids chased kites while parents lounged on picnic blankets. But his attention snapped to a heartbreaking scene that pulled at his soul. Two little girls, no older than 8, sat on a weathered bench. Their mismatched, tattered suitcases clung to them like a lifeline. The world around them seemed to dim, their vulnerabilities piercing the joyous atmosphere. As he approached gently, his heart swelled with memories of his own childhood struggles. Back when neighbors came together to lift each other up. The girls, Mia and Lily, had eyes that told stories of pain and abandonment, and it wrung at Thomas's heart. He knelt down, softening his voice. "Hey there, are you girls okay?" The moment dripped with unspoken worry that wrapped around them like a thick fog. Nearby, some parents watched with raised eyebrows and thin lips, their whispers prickly as they judged. Why was this affluent man with the girls? Did he have ulterior motives? Thomas felt the pressure of their scrutiny, every glance fueling skepticism. In their eyes, he was a stranger, perhaps even a threat. An urgency clawed at him as he instinctively thought of whisking the twins away to safety, convinced that money could mend anything. But as he scanned the park, the laughs felt distant now, and he realized this went beyond rescue. It was about connection. He couldn't just pull the girls out without understanding their world. A realization crystallized. True change needed the community's heart. He took a deep breath, letting go of the fleeting impulse to solve everything with his fortune. He needed to listen and learn, not just act. Next, he visited the local youth center, hearing whispers about their estranged grandmother, a war veteran named Clara, grappling with her own demons after losing her job. Her story mirrored countless American struggles. Thomas knew she was the bridge the girls needed, embodying family ties woven through hardship and resilience. With each meeting, hope fluttered within his chest as he facilitated connections, aiming for a reunion that could heal both the girls' and Clara's wounds. Just as it seemed the pieces were falling into place, cracks began to form. The twins hesitated during an emotional reunion, their hearts weighed down by hurt from the past. Thomas stood witness, grappling with the fear that maybe he was an outsider, uninvited to something sacred. The girls' too quiet responses echoed deep questions. Was he enough to bridge the gulf between their pain and healing? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the tension came to a peak, a looming question hung in the air, heavy and desperate. Could true healing ever take place without the involvement of those who understood struggle intimately? The atmosphere was thick with doubt, and the twins' future hung in the balance. Thomas felt the weight of that moment, the crossroads of his privilege and the grounded reality of the girls' lives pressing against his chest. Would acceptance blossom, or would the community's wounds stand too raw? In that heartbeat, everything felt possible, and yet, danger loomed. The path ahead was uncertain, and an echo of vulnerability resonated. Would anyone dare to reach out? Mia and Lily sat in their grandmother's cramped apartment, surrounded by remnants of a life that felt foreign to them. The walls, once painted a vibrant yellow, now faded into a dull memory, just like their grandmother's presence. Clara moved through the tiny space, her footsteps heavy with the weight of years and battles lost. She filled the air with the aroma of something simmering on the stove, a reminder of home, yet the silence stretched uncomfortably between them. Thomas watched, sitting on the edge of the frayed armchair, his heart aching for the three of them. How could he bridge their worlds? The girls occasionally exchanged glances, a wordless conversation that spoke volumes of uncertainty and fear. He had once thought that wealth could smooth over every crack in their lives, but now he understood it could only play a part in their healing. "Clara, can I talk to you for a moment?" he asked, voice steady yet gentle. He motioned toward the kitchen, hoping to give her a chance to breathe without the shadows of the past looming too large. The frail woman turned slowly, her eyes sparkling with a flicker of hope, but mostly dulled by exhaustion. In the kitchen, Clara leaned against the counter, her arms crossed defensively. "What do you want from me?" It wasn't accusatory. It was a plea for clarity, a need to understand the intentions of this man who had appeared from nowhere. "I want to help you," Thomas replied, sincerity draping his words. "But you need to know it's not just about the money. It's about rebuilding connections. With the girls. With yourself." He watched her expression closely, each flicker across her face telling a different story of pride, pain, and fear. Tears welled in Clara's eyes. "I've lost everything, I don't know how to reach them anymore." Her voice trembled, revealing the struggle of a woman who had once been a soldier, a mother, and now felt like a shadow of her former self. "I believe you can," he said firmly, "but it'll take time and not just from you. The girls have to heal too. And most of all, they need your love." He paused, gauging the impact of his words. "We can do this together." Meanwhile, in the living room, Mia and Lily remained tense. The air was electric with unspoken words. They exchanged glances again, little fingers reluctantly curling into fists atop their knees. Just beyond this moment, there was safety, but it felt like a distant land. "What if she doesn't want us?" Mia's voice was barely a whisper, thick with the emotions that they both tried to suppress. It was a question clawing at Lily's heart too, as they both absorbed the implications of their grandmother's struggles. Thomas moved back into the room, instinctively kneeling in front of them. "Hey, can we talk?" His voice was soft, a soothing balm against their anxious spirits. "It's okay to feel scared. It's normal." The girls looked at him, hesitating. Their vulnerability hung in the air like an unlit bulb. Thomas remembered his own childhood, the fear that haunted him whenever the world felt too heavy. It was a feeling he wanted to chase away, not only for himself but for these girls as well. "What if we don't fit?" Lily finally broke her silence, a quiver dancing on her words. "Family isn't about fitting in perfectly," Thomas replied, feeling his own heart thump with urgency. "It's about showing up, even when it's hard. You don't have to get it all right. You just have to try." The moment held on a precipice, the fear and hope vying for space in their hearts. Would they take a step forward into this uncertain journey? Would Clara step out of the shadows she had succumbed to and embrace her role once more? As Thomas awaited their response, a subtle yet profound shift filled the room. He could sense the tightening of bonds, the hesitant unfolding of hearts. But just then, the piercing sound of a siren echoed through the streets outside, a reminder that life was unpredictable and sometimes harsh. The future still felt daunting, but perhaps more than ever, they needed to face it together. What if the sirens were not a signal of danger but a call to action demanding change from them all? Would they hear it? The siren faded into the distance, but the tension hung thick in the small apartment, coiling like a spring. Thomas looked at Mia and Lily, searching their faces for any sign of hope. Mia bit her lip, her eyes reflecting a whirlwind of emotions. "What if we don't know how to be a family?" she asked, her voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. Thomas took a deep breath, trying to steady the nervous energy between them. "You won't know until you try," he said. "A family doesn't form overnight, just like trust doesn't blossom instantly. It's about showing up and being there for each other." Lily, still skeptical, shifted her weight. The faint sound of boiling water bubbled up from the kitchen, echoing Clara's efforts to create something familiar amidst the uncertainty. "But what does that mean for us?" she asked, her brows furrowed. "It means accepting that you're scared," Thomas said, his tone steady, "and that it's okay to not have all the answers. Just like I don't know everything about being a billionaire, you don't need to know everything about being sisters or granddaughters." A soft laugh escaped Mia, breaking the weight of the moment. "You think being a billionaire is harder than being thrust into a family?" "Honestly, yeah," Thomas said, a chuckle escaping his lips. "Look at me. I have no idea how to connect with you girls. I'm trying my best, just like Clara is. The room filled with tentative smiles, small but glowing like faint embers that had yet to catch fire. But just as they began to explore this fragile warmth, Clara emerged from the kitchen, her hands still slightly trembling as she placed a pot of steaming pasta on the table. "Dinner's ready," she said, her voice wavering between nervousness and maternal instinct. "I hope you like it." Thomas stood up, adjusting his posture to convey encouragement. "Let us eat together," he suggested, leading the way to the small table. As they settled down, the clinking of forks against plates broke the silence in a new way. The food was simple, but the act of sharing it felt monumental. Clara served each of them, her hands steadying, her spirit lifting. Mia leaned toward Lily, whispering, "What if we try to help her?" Lily glanced at their grandmother, who was lost in thought, her gaze distant. "Help her how?" "I don't know yet," Mia said softly, her determination sprouting from somewhere deep inside. "But maybe she needs us as much as we need her." Clara turned slightly, catching their conversation, and a flicker of realization ignited in her eyes. I've always wanted a second chance as a grandmother," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Thomas nodded slowly, knowing this might be the turning point. "And you deserve one, Clara. You've raised warriors. It's time to connect again." The weight between them wobbled, shifting from despair to possibility. It wasn't a complete transformation. Not yet. But these small gestures, like the food on the table and the earnest conversations unfolding, felt like the first steps in healing a frayed bond. The meal proceeded in bursts of laughter and shy glances, the room softening with each shared moment. Clara even found herself telling stories from her kids' childhood, and the girls leaned in, captivated by the tales. The warmth of her narratives began to awaken something that had long been dormant. Outside, night fell, wrapping the world in a thick blanket of darkness. But within the cramped apartment, a glimmer of light emerged in the form of connection, fragile but fierce. As Clara tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, she smiled weakly and said, "Maybe I can start reaching out after all." But before they could dwell on what this could mean, a loud knock shattered their new moment of peace. Hearts raced. Who could it be? Was danger knocking at their door? Or was it yet another chance for change? The knock came again, louder this time, vibrating through the thin walls of the apartment, sending a jolt of anxiety coursing through Thomas's veins. He exchanged glances with Clara and the girls, each face a mix of confusion and concern. "What do we do?" Mia whispered, her previous determination faltering. Clara's hands gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles pale against the wood. Thomas stood, his instincts kicking in. "I'll check it out," he said, trying to sound brave. "You three stay here." He didn't want to scare them unless he had to. As he approached the door, every step felt like a heartbeat echoing in the tense air. The knock came once more, urgency thrumming behind it. He peered through the peephole, and his heart sank. He recognized the figure standing there, unsure of whether to feel relief or dread. "Who is it?" Clara asked, her voice a tight whisper. "It's a friend," Thomas muttered, still cautious. He swung the door open to reveal Jack, his old business partner, distinguished in a too-tight suit, eyebrows raised with concern. "Thomas, I didn't think I'd find you here," Jack said, trying to force a smile. But his eyes told a different story, swirling with worry. "Jack, what are you doing here?" Thomas asked, stepping aside to let him in. He cast a quick glance back at the girls, who were watching wide-eyed. "Now it's really not a good time." Jack held up his hands, sensing the tension. "I know, but I had to warn you. There are rumors, some uneasy things happening in the office, and it might affect you. I didn't want to leave you in the dark." "What do you mean?" Thomas pressed, every word heavy in the air. Jack hesitated for a moment, clearly weighing his words. He whispered, "There are people circling. Something isn't right. I think someone's trying to undermine your position or worse." Clara stepped forward, catching the tail end of their conversation. "What do you mean, undermine?" she asked, her voice steady, hiding the tremors beneath. "We need to be careful," Jack continued, his gaze darting toward the girls. It's business, but now it involves family too. Can we talk in private? Thomas's mind raced, the moment's warmth slipping away. Family? What danger lurked in the shadows of his lavish wealth? He could feel anxiety prickling at the back of his neck. Not here. Thomas shook his head, glancing back at Mia and Lily, who were now whispering among themselves, eyes wide with confusion. Let us head downstairs. Are you sure that S smart? Jack replied, concern crossing his face, but Thomas stepped past him, determination bubbling up inside. Let us move. He led Jack to the stairwell, the shadows flickering under the dim lights. They stepped down, the echo of their footsteps resonating in the emptiness around them. Once they reached the landing, Jack turned to Thomas. I wish I didn't have to tell you all this, but you have to be careful. This isn't just about business, they may come after your family too. Thomas's heart pounded as he processed the words. His new family, the girls, Clara, was he putting them at risk? What can we do? He asked, fear mixing with protective instinct. Jack opened his mouth to reply when the fire alarm suddenly blared to life, shrieking throughout the building. The sound rushed like a wave, creating chaos. Get back! Thomas shouted, grabbing Jack's arm as they raced toward the exit. The girls! He darted back up the stairs, adrenaline surging through him as dread pooled in his stomach. What would he find when he got back? And as he burst through the door, the sight that met him left him breathless. Mia and Lily stood at the kitchen counter, fixated on something they were holding, eyes wide with wonder. What had they discovered? Thomas! Mia shouted, excitement and fear mingling in her voice. You need to see this. He stepped forward, heart thundering, torn between the rush of danger and the hope of connection. What had they found that could change everything? Thomas stepped closer, curiosity pulling him in. The furrow in his brow smoothed out slightly. As he approached, he had to blink hard at the sight. Mia and Lily were huddled over two worn suitcases they had managed to pull onto the counter. The light flickered off their surfaces, revealing faded stickers from places he could only dream of visiting. What's going on? He asked, the urgency of the fire alarm fading momentarily to the background. Look! Mia exclaimed, her voice a mix of delight and disbelief. She opened one of the suitcases, and Thomas leaned over, peering inside. The contents were astonishing. A jumble of clothes, a collection of shining trinkets, and a stack of old photographs. It was like a treasure trove. Clara stepped up beside him, her concern momentarily eclipsed by fascination. Where did you find these? She asked, her tone softening. They were just sitting by the dumpster outside. Lily chimed in, her eyes sparkling. We thought they might belong to someone, but they seem like they've been forgotten. Mia finished for her. It's kind of sad, but also cool. Look at these. She held up a photograph of a smiling family, the kids laughing on a beach. Sunlight captured every wrinkle of joy, every sparkle. Thomas's heart swelled. Here they stood in chaos, yet amidst it all, his daughters found hope and beauty. It grounded him, reminded him of what truly mattered. We have to find out if someone is missing these, he said, his voice steady. They can't just be left here. The girls nodded in agreement, a sense of duty igniting in their young hearts. Just then, a voice broke through the shadows of confusion. Hey, what's happening in here? Jack's voice carried a blend of authority and concern as he stepped back into the kitchen, his eyes darting from Thomas to the girls and the open suitcases spilling their contents. Jack, look at this! Thomas exclaimed, waving him over. These suitcases were just outside, left behind. The girls found them. His previous worries about what Jack had come to reveal flickered away, replaced with the warmth of shared discovery. Jack knelt beside the girls, examining the photographs. Wow, these are great, he said, a hint of admiration in his voice. Maybe we should take them to the police. They might belong to someone who really wants them back. A moment of silence hung in the air as they considered this. Could the lost story of these suitcases hold secrets of lives past, of adventures untold? But suddenly, the fire alarm shrieked again, piercing the air in a fit of urgency. The moment shattered. We need to evacuate, Jack reminded them, urgency creeping back into the atmosphere. Thomas turned to Clara, who now had a look of resolve on her face. We'll take these with us, she decided. What? Jack stared, his brows knitting in confusion. There could be something in there that we need to know, Clara asserted, grabbing the handles of one suitcase, the weight of it resting heavily in her hand. Mia and Lily nodded, enthusiasm brewing once more. Don't leave them behind. Dad, please? Thomas inhaled deeply. Everything was happening so fast, and the weight of responsibility and love filled him. All right, let us go. They swept up the rest of the contents, shoving trinkets and photographs into pockets and bags, fear and hope melding into a chaotic tapestry of protection. As they rushed out, the chaos of the building faded behind them and uncertainty hung thick in the air. The street outside was filled with neighbors gathering from surrounding apartments, all eyes on Thomas's family and their strange haul. In that instant, Thomas realized that they weren't just running from the alarm. They were running toward a new kind of possibility. The adventure they hadn't planned was unfolding, and he could feel it stretching out before them like a road shrouded in mist. What other secrets would these suitcases hold? What stories were waiting to be discovered, just like the ones in the photographs? And as Thomas led the way, his heart pounded with excitement. The unexpected journey was just beginning. The street was alive with chatter, the air thick with tension. Neighbors hovered in groups, their faces painted with concern and curiosity. Thomas felt their stares, but right now, he focused on what mattered most: his daughters. Mia and Lily clutched their suitcases tightly as they walked into the open air, the sounds of the city punctuating the burgeoning adventure. Clara matched their strides, her resolve echoing in the determined set of her jaw. We need to figure out who these belong to, she said, her voice steady, despite the chaos around them. Let South go to the park, Thomas suggested, pointing down the street. It's quieter there. We can look through everything. They took off, the sun beginning its descent, casting warm hues across the pavement. At the park, they found a bench and settled down. Thomas leaned against the rough wood, inhaling deeply. Okay, let us see what we have. He opened the suitcase, finding a jumble of memories waiting to be unfolded. The smell of old books and fabric wafted up, a scent both comforting and intriguing. What's that? Lily asked, her finger pointing at a small box nestled in the corner. Thomas reached in and pulled it out, feeling its weight in his palm. He clicked it open, revealing a dazzling assortment of vintage jewelry, rings, bracelets, each piece a tiny story etched in metal and gems. Wow, Mia gasped, her wide eyes sparkling. Can we keep it? No, sweetheart, Thomas replied gently. This isn't ours. We need to find the owner. He placed the jewelry back, but it awakened an idea. What if we make a poster? Whoever lost these might have a way to contact us. Clara nodded, excitement building in her. We can take pictures of the jewelry and the photos too. We can make it bright and eye-catching to get their attention. Great idea. Thomas smiled, his heart warming at their enthusiasm. They spread out the remaining contents: old clothes, letters, and snapshots of family gatherings, each photo telling a story of love, laughter, and life. Thomas's hands trembled slightly as he picked up one photo. A mother with her two children, sandy toes and sun-kissed faces, all smiling widely. Struck a chord. Here, in these forgotten items, lay someone's life, a life full of memories, now just remnants of what once was. Just then, a noise broke through his reverie. A group of teenagers walked by, laughing loudly. One of them caught a glimpse of the suitcases. What do you have there? Treasure? Mia grinned, a gleam of mischief in her eye. It's lost stuff. We found it. Without thinking, Thomas called out, Hey, if you've lost something, we can help. The teens looked at each other, then back at him, and began to inch closer. One girl stepped forward, her brow furrowed in curiosity. What do you mean? There are photographs and some jewelry in these suitcases. We want to find their owner. Clara interjected, her voice ringing with sincerity. A ripple of interest swept through the group. They gathered closer, peering at the vibrant pictures spread out on the bench. "Oh man, I remember that family," a boy exclaimed, pointing at a photo with a sudden flash of recognition. "They used to live down the street." Thomas felt a rush of adrenaline. "Really? Do you know how to reach them?" As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in violet and orange, the conversation around them shifted from one of curiosity to the kindling of community. The laughter and chatter grew, each person adding a piece to the puzzle, each moment drawing them closer together. Thomas's heart swelled with hope. Maybe these suitcases were more than lost items. Maybe they were the start of something bigger. But just as they began to piece together leads, Thomas noticed a shadow lingering at the edge of the park. A woman stood there, her gaze fixed on them, her face a mix of desperation and hope. "Excuse me," she called, her voice trembling. "Are those my suitcases?" The group went silent, a collective breath held in the air. Thomas's heart raced. Had they really found the owner? Or was this yet another twist in their unexpected journey? "Do you know whose they are?" he asked, stepping forward, a flicker of anxiety coursing through him. She nodded, tears shining in her eyes. "I've been searching for them everywhere." What awaited them now hung in the balance, and Thomas felt both anticipation and dread mingling in his chest. What story would she reveal? The woman drew closer, her hands trembling as she gestured toward the suitcases sprawled across the bench. Thomas studied her face, the pain etched into her features pulling at his heartstrings. "You really think they're yours?" he asked softly, trying to gauge her sincerity. "Those are my memories," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper, but it carried the weight of 1,000 stories. "My life, my children's life." Mia clutched Lily's hand tightly, feeling the heaviness in the air. Clara glanced at her father, sensing his uncertainty. "What's your name?" Clara asked, her tone kind but firm, giving the woman an anchor. "Rebecca," she said, stepping even closer, her eyes darting from the suitcases to the group watching her intently. "I lost them during a move. It was my fault. I got overwhelmed, and a few boxes went missing." Thomas took a step back, glancing at the girls. "Do you have any proof? Anything that could confirm these are yours?" Rebecca fumbled through her pockets, her fingers shaking. "I have a photo," she said, pulling out a crumpled picture. With trembling hands, she held it up, revealing the very same family portrait he'd seen earlier, the smiling mother and her 2 sun-kissed children. "That's them," Mia cried out, her eyes lighting up with recognition. Thomas's heart sank. This was it. "Okay, Rebecca. If this is your stuff, we'll get it back to you," he said, trying to convey a sense of comfort amidst the chaos. "But I'm curious, why were you looking for them?" Tears streamed down Rebecca's face as she took a shaky breath. "I lost everything in the divorce. My husband took our daughters and left me. I thought I'd always lose those moments with them too." Her voice was filled with a mix of longing and regret, and the surrounding crowd felt the palpable pain. "Did you try finding them?" Clara asked, her voice laced with empathy. "I did countless times, but I had to rebuild my life here. I thought they were gone for good." Her voice cracked and she wiped away tears, revealing a vulnerability that resonated with everyone present. Suddenly, Thomas felt the weight of the moment, the deep connections forming not just between them, but the entire group gathered in the park. "You're not alone anymore," he spoke, feeling a surge of determination. "We're all together in this." Then, as he watched Rebecca absorb that simple truth, it hit him hard. This was not just about lost property or forgotten memories. It was about healing wounds, rekindling hope, and finding family again. Thomas looked to Mia and Lily, their innocent hearts full of compassion and curiosity. "Why don't we all help Rebecca find her daughters? We could make posters together and search the neighborhood." "Yes, let us do it," the girls exclaimed, their enthusiasm brightening the air. Rebecca's expression shifted, hope igniting in her eyes amidst the tears. It was like a lifeline thrown into a turbulent sea. "Really? You'd help me?" "Absolutely," Thomas replied, feeling the urgency of the moment connect them all even deeper. "Let us start now." As they began exploring ideas and transforming the park into a creative hub for their posters, something inexplicable happened. The laughter from the teens intertwined with their efforts, bringing a sense of community and purpose to the foreground. But just as things started to feel right, an unexpected phone call broke through the excitement. Rebecca's phone buzzed with an alarming urgency, pulling her into a corner. She listened intently, her face twisting with confusion, then dread. "Rebecca, what is it?" Clara asked, noticing the sudden change in her demeanor. They're gone again," she stammered, her voice trembling. A hush fell over the group. The bright hope in the air felt heavy once more. "What do you mean?" Thomas asked, stepping closer as everyone's eyes turned to Rebecca. "They found my daughters, but now they can't be with me," her voice broke, and the crowd watched as she slowly sank to the ground. Thomas bent down beside her, feeling the weight of her grief pressing down on him. "What do you need?" he asked, his heart breaking for her. And then, just as she whispered her plea, a shadow loomed above them again, interrupting the moment. "What's going on here?" a stern voice demanded from the edge of the park, making them all turn. Thomas's heart dropped. Who was this new player in their story? What more could shake their fragile world apart? Thomas looked up, his breath hitching in his throat. The figure standing there was a tall man, dressed in an expensive suit that screamed authority. His dark eyes scanned the group, finally landing on Rebecca, who was still hunched on the ground. "Who are you?" Thomas asked, straightening up to defend Rebecca, instinctively placing himself in front of her. He felt the intensity of the moment, as if the air had thickened with tension. "I'm David," the man replied, crossing his arms. "I'm here for Rebecca. She needs to come with me." "Come with you?" Clara echoed incredulously, her protective instincts flaring. "She's not going anywhere until we figure out what's going on." David looked momentarily taken aback but quickly regained his composure. "Rebecca, they found the girls. You have to come with me. It's urgent." Confusion washed over Rebecca's tear-stricken face. "What do you mean? Where are they?" Her voice rose, a mixture of hope and fear, racing to the surface. "They've been at the agency since yesterday. They're in a safe place now. But you need to sign some papers, a lot of things are happening. Please." Thomas felt the ripple of Rebecca's pain, her heart hanging in limbo between relief and despair. "Take a breath, Rebecca. Listen to him," he encouraged softly. "Just tell him what you need to do. We'll still be here when you get back." Mia, filled with a child's unfiltered empathy, whispered, "But why can't she just take us with her? We want to help. Kids, let us give her some space to talk," Thomas said, turning to the girls, who both nodded, though clearly confused. Rebecca looked up, glancing at the faces around her. "I had no idea this would happen today. I can't leave you all. I can't just walk away again." David stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Rebecca, you've waited for this moment for far too long. Don't let fear keep you from them. They need you." The crowd shared uncertain glances, feeling the push and pull of the situation. They didn't want Rebecca to leave. They wanted her to find her family, but the fear of losing their connection echoed in their hearts. Clara squeezed Mia's hand, her own pulse racing with uncertainty. What if something goes wrong?" Clara asked, her brows knitting together. David's eyes softened. "You have to trust me. I'm here to help. It won't be easy, but she'll get to be with her daughters. That's what matters." Nervously, Rebecca shifted, her fingers trembling as they clutched the edges of her jacket. Time stood still for a heartbeat. "Okay," she whispered finally, resignation flashing across her features. "Let us go." As she stood, the weight of the world seemed to press down on her shoulders. The group exchanged hesitant looks, uncertain about what the next few hours would hold. Thomas stepped forward, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll be right here waiting for you." Rebecca nodded, fighting back tears. "Thank you, all of you." David took her arm gently, leading her away from the group, yet the bond they had created together lingered in the air. Mia and Lily stood close, watching as Rebecca walked away, their innocent hearts not fully understanding the gravity of their situation. "Do you think she'll be okay?" Mia asked with a tiny voice, glancing up at her father. I hope so, sweetheart, Thomas replied, his own heart heavy with concern. I really hope so. But as they turned to the empty park bench where the suitcases had been, a strange churning sensation began to grow in Thomas's gut. A feeling that whispered they were part of something much larger than cold connection or chance encounters. Suddenly, a soft rustle drew their attention. From behind the trees nearby, a child's voice rang out, clear and melodious. Mommy? Thomas felt his heart race. Who was this child? As he turned toward the sound, everything else faded into silence. Where were these girls coming from? And what did this mean for Rebecca? They needed to find out. Thomas squinted through the leaves, his senses heightened by the unanticipated voice that shattered the tranquility of the park. The word hung in the air like a prayer. Mommy? The tone was sweet, tender, yet laced with a desperate longing. Thomas's heart pounded against his chest, each thump echoing a mix of concern and anticipation. Who's there? He called softly, stepping cautiously toward the sound. Every inch felt like a delicate unwrapping of an unseen mystery. Then, from behind the broader trunk of a tree, a small figure emerged, a girl, no more than 6 or 7, with wild curls and big, hopeful eyes that sparkled like gems. She clutched a tattered teddy bear tightly to her chest, as if it were her only shield against the world. Mia, Lily gasped, taking a step back as if the scene around them had warped into something fantastical. Where's your mother? Thomas asked gently, kneeling to her level to avoid towering over her in this vulnerable moment. The girl hesitated, her face shifting between a flicker of fear and the glimmer of trust. She told me to wait, but I lost her. I was scared. Her tiny voice trembled, and the grip on her bear tightened until her knuckles turned white. Thomas felt the urge to wrap her in his arms, to shield her from whatever had led this child to be alone. Hey, you did great waiting here. Just keep telling me what happened. I'll help you find her, he assured, his voice fluttering gently like a reassuring breeze. Clara rushed to his side, crouching beside him. What's your name, sweetheart? Ellie, the girl whispered, her gaze still flickering to the shadows of the trees where her mother's silhouette had once stood. Thomas felt a surge of urgency. This child was lost, just as Rebecca had been lost from her daughters. Ellie, do you know what your mommy looks like? What's her name? She's pretty, with long hair and green eyes, and she sings to me. Each word fell from Ellie's lips like a precious secret, and Thomas could hear the tug of love beneath her simple description. Mia, always the one to draw connections, piped up like Rebecca. She had long hair and green eyes. Thomas's heart skipped a beat. Could this child belong to Rebecca? Determined, Thomas stood up, instinct kicking in. Okay, Ellie, can you follow us? We need to find your mommy now. The little girl nodded vigorously, her eyes shining with the spark of hope. You promise we'll find her? Absolutely, he vowed as he glanced back at Clara, who nodded, her expression serious yet filled with warmth. As they turned to lead Ellie back, a shadow shifted behind them. Panic flashed through Thomas as he realized the ominous presence of David loomed in the distance. Still there, still watching. What's going on? David shouted as he approached, urgency etched into his features. We don't have time for detours. We need to move now. No, David. Clara stepped forward, protective instinct surging within her. This girl needs help. She could be lost. Is she connected to Rebecca? David asked, confusion clouding his face. But before anyone could answer, Ellie stepped forward, trembling slightly. I'm looking for my mommy Rebecca? Thomas felt the ground shift beneath him. How closely woven were their fates. Your mommy? He started before David cut him off. Rebecca left to sign papers for her daughters. We have to go now. But my mommy. She will be back. Ellie cried, her tiny hope teetering on a thread of confusion. Thomas felt the pull between duty and compassion tighten around him. Let us go. We can figure it all out on the way, he decided. As they started moving, the air buzzed with heavy uncertainty. Where was this leading them? Would they find Rebecca? Each step quickened the beat of Thomas's heart. They were on the brink of a revelation that could change everything. The answers loomed just out of reach, waiting around the next corner. And as they walked further into the unknown, a chilling thought danced through his mind. What if they found Rebecca, only to uncover more questions than answers? The air was thick with anticipation as they crossed the threshold of the park, each step resonating with hope and uncertainty. Thomas led the way, clutching Ellie's small hand tightly in his own, feeling the warmth of her innocence counter the chill of doubt creeping into the back of his mind. "Where did you last see your mommy, sweetie?" Clara turned to Ellie, gentle curiosity in her words, her presence a comforting anchor against the swirling chaos of fear and patience. Ellie pointed down the street. "By the tall tree. She told me to stay put, but I got scared when I couldn't see her anymore." Thomas's heart sank. "We need to get back there." Immediately, he quickened his pace, the knot of urgency tightening in his gut. He had to find Rebecca. These girls needed to see each other to fill in the gaps left by distance and misunderstandings. As they turned the corner, the towering oak loomed ahead, its branches stretching out like welcoming arms. Memories of fathers and daughters playing beneath it flooded his mind, a world swirling with laughter, warmth, and connection. He prayed that Rebecca would be there. He prayed that they had simply lost track of time. But when they reached the tree, an uneasy quiet settled over them. A gnawing feeling unfolded, its roots digging deeper as they searched the area frantically. Ellie's eyes darting left and right, her small breaths quickening. "Mommy?" she called softly, her voice quaking with unease. "No, no," Thomas whispered under his breath, the sudden emptiness settling heavily on his chest. Clara knelt beside Ellie, wrapping her arms around her, shielding her from the disappointment that threatened to engulf them. "We'll find her," Clara murmured, her voice wrapped in love, yet grounding them all in optimism. Suddenly, Thomas caught sight of a familiar figure in the distance. What felt like hours stretched into seconds as he blinked, allowing hope to flicker. "Rebecca!" he shouted, forcing energy and conviction into his voice. The figure turned, recognition flashing in Rebecca's eyes, breaking through the fog of despair that surrounded her. "Ellie!" she called, and in that instant, a rush of energy surged through Thomas's veins as Rebecca broke into a run. Ellie's eyes widened, and she tore away from Clara's embrace, dashing toward her mother. "Mommy!" She launched herself into Rebecca's arms, the atmosphere exploding with the raw beauty of reunion. Thomas stood back, watching as they enveloped each other, long-awaited comfort and love washing over the chaos. But in the corner of his eye, he saw David approach, skepticism shadowing his face. "Rebecca, we need to go now. You have paperwork to sign?" David urged, but his voice felt like an unwelcome intrusion, crashing against the profound moment unfolding before them. "Wait," Thomas interrupted, stepping forward. "You can't just rush this. This is about Ellie reconnecting with her mom, about her healing." Rebecca stood, her cheeks wet with tears, blending joy and turmoil on her face. "No more paperwork. I need to be here with my baby." She turned to Ellie, whose eyes twinkled despite the sadness, the bond of family stronger than all the past struggles. In that moment, clarity washed over Thomas. He had seen the struggle and the heartache. This was more than just a reunion. It was about reclaiming hope, about nurturing love that could grow amidst the ruins of pain. "Maybe we don't have to rush into anything," he said to David, holding his ground. "Let us give them time. They deserve this." Ellie clung to Rebecca, the light of discovery enveloping them, igniting sparks of warmth all around. And Thomas felt the strength inside him blossom amidst the tears, the strength that comes from connection, from community. "Thank you," Rebecca whispered, her voice barely above a whisper as she cradled Ellie, who nestled closer to her. The gratitude radiated from her like warmth from the sun, igniting those who surrounded them. Thomas smiled warmly, watching the love unfold before him. "You're not alone anymore, Rebecca," he replied softly. "We will all help you find your way." As the group stood together, mountains of adversity began to feel smaller, and the foundation of connection became stronger. They decided to form a circle. Thomas, Clara, Mia, and Lily, surrounding Rebecca and Ellie. Their laughter filled the space with hope. "Let us make a plan." Together, Mia said, her voice chiming with youthful wonder. "We can put up posters, go around the neighborhood. There are so many people who care." And with that, the heaviness of the day lifted, replaced by the buoyancy of possibility. Thomas observed from the center, feeling every heartbeat connect their shared stories. They were a family even if it was made up of different pieces. It felt complete within this moment. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting vivid shades of pink and gold across the sky, Thomas felt an undeniable force rise within him. "This is where our journey truly begins," he said aloud, and they all nodded in agreement. But just as they began to brainstorm, a flurry of laughter and chatter erupted around them. A wave of youth drifted through the park, their vibrant energies swirling in, drawn to the remarkable reunion unfolding. Thomas's heart raced with disbelief as he spotted a familiar figure among them, Jack, his friend. A knowing smile spread across his face as he introduced the carousel of laughter and energy behind him. His colleagues, the local community, everyone was here, seeking to connect, to help. "Rebecca, you're not just part of this family now," Thomas said, pointing at those gathering. "You have a village." Hope and purpose surged, an unwavering anthem of healing binding them together. As the sky shifted into twilight, a chorus of emotions enveloped them. Love, hope, transformations. Each face mirrored the dreams birthed from their shared trials. They stood united under a swath of new beginnings. "This is where we take a stand," Thomas declared, the excitement crackling in the air. "Let us turn these losses into stories. We'll find your daughters together." And with that, the journey had come full circle. Walls began to come down, and from the fragments of broken pasts, a dazzling new future took shape. One painted with light, resilience, and family. In that moment, all felt right, even as shadows whispered of obstacles still ahead. The power of connection, the bonds they forged today, would guide them through the light and the dark. Thomas marveled at the miracle blooming before him. This was more than a story about loss. It was a story of reclaiming strength, of families rediscovering love, and communities coming together to heal. There was no turning back now. This was their moment. And as he prepared to make the next move, connecting hearts, building an even stronger foundation for love, he could not shake the feeling that the best was yet to come. What would tomorrow bring? Together they would find out. If you felt the power of this transformation, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support and not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let it be known that you believe in connection and healing. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending, what moved you the most? And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation, because together, we can all be part of something beautiful. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the word.